Hello everyone and welcome! Today I'm going to talk about the Toyota Supra, the Shelby GT500, and my overall feelings on them and the Chicago Auto Show in general. This is what I would call my first official video as a series. If you would like to check out some older videos, the only one really relevant to cars is the one where my wife gifted me a track experience with a Ferrari 458 Italia for my birthday. As seen in this clip I'm voicing over currently. Full disclosure, some of it isn't exciting due to trying to spend some time being in tune with the vehicle because I didn't want to wreck it. Before I knew it, the experience was over, case closed, I still had fun. I've had this channel for years now, but never really uploaded any content, and today I think that changes. I'll be uploading content from much car-related things. I could also do gaming and anime, but let's face it, it'll be mostly about cars. I was invited to the Chicago Auto Show this year, but this wasn't my first rodeo. This was my third consecutive year at Chicago Auto Show, and my review of 2019 Auto Show will be compared to the previous 2 years I attended. For 2019, however, this will be the first year I attended on behalf of myself as a content creator, so I feel there's a proud moment and enough reason for me to actually attempt to get this channel off the ground. But for the sake of time, let's get right into it. So before we jump into it, I kind of want to talk about the Chicago Auto Show in general. We had some pretty interesting things happening. We had the 1320 Dodge Challenger on display, which was nice. They unveiled a new Dodge heavy-duty off-road pickup. It was pretty cool looking. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I could see why it had so much media attention. Some other nice little cues was Nissan had a DJ playing music, probably to invite younger crowds, probably to attract a younger audience. And Acura had NSX up on display. They also had the older NSX, so that you could compare the two, which was kind of really nice to compare the D1 from the 90s that we all know and love, and then the one from today. I'm sure this isn't the first time they tried doing this or have done this on one of their displays, so it was the first for me, so seeing this up front was pretty nice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Another thing that is really nice about the auto show is that they have Perillo Chicago host a supercar gallery, which is especially for the media preview. I know that on the public days they have the supercars available for looking at and admiring, but on the media preview it's kind of a treat for all of us because we get to see them up close and personal. This is normally something that's the highlight of the media preview. It's nice to just kind of sit back. They have a nice lounge area where we could sit down and kind of relax, charge our phones, recharge our batteries. One thing I did like, my favorite feature of the Chicago Auto Show, was the Nissan Titan. It had a custom paint job by a father and son shop out in California. And funny little detail about this is that the fender flares were actually taken off and painted separately and put back on. So for them to match to the exact fade is admirable. It is something that you can appreciate with the hard work put into a paint job like that. At first glance, it looked like a vinyl or one of those plastic sprays. So before I jump into talking about the Supra, I do want to take a moment and talk about Chevrolet. They did have the biggest footprint at the Chicago Auto Show. I don't know why, to be honest, because a lot of their vehicles are starting to dull out. They're starting to design these vehicles to all look exactly the same, with the exception of the Corvette. And I've always been a sucker for Camaros and Corvettes, and I think that changes this year. My opinion on the new Camaros is basically something that probably Chevrolet wouldn't want to hear, because Camaros for 2019 and probably for the foreseeable future is the matter of they suck. The design sucks. It looks crappy. It looks cheap. It looks like an afterthought. It looks like a Matchbox car per se, or a Hot Wheels car. And maybe there is a market for that, but just not for me. Someone that's used to seeing Camaros and Corvettes and seeing what the Camaro has become today, I'd never thought I would say ever in my life that a Camaro looks just butt-ass ugly. The new Chevrolet trucks are in the same boat as the Camaros. The new design is absolutely terrible. I wouldn't want to see myself driving in one of these trucks if I was buying it brand new. I don't know where they lost the consumer interests are on the drawing board, but for some reason they feel like this design sells, and I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. I don't think it's an appealing look. It's definitely not aesthetically pleasing. I'm not saying or undermining its capabilities. What I'm saying is that the design is so bad for the appearance that I wouldn't want to buy it. And from my perspective, I don't think they'll sell well in comparison to Ford and Dodge. And I think Chevrolet as a whole overall has gone downhill based on their design alone, trying to compete with foreign markets. I had the opportunity to speak with the CEO of Carmunity. I encourage everybody to check out Carmunity.io. They're doing great things. A new app coming with GPS locations, if you enable it to do such. This will be able to track yours and your friends' movements or new friends that you might want to meet. On the road, you could find anybody that you might want to share car enthusiast interests with. Since talking to the CEO of Carmunity.io, I was really intrigued by the app itself, so I did promise him that I would mention his fantastic app development in this video. So before I bring up the Supra, make sure you check Carmunity.io out. Also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, so the opinion that has been long awaited on the Toyota Supra. I have no words on the new Toyota Supra other than those that would express anger. Toyota missed the mark by a long shot with this vehicle. I could say very few positive things about the vehicle. First of all, their display at Chicago Auto Show was very, very weak. The car wasn't on the ground, no doors were open. You couldn't really get a good look at anything as far as interior, as far as anything on the inside, trunk space, under the hood. This was very annoying, to say the least. One thing in particular that I noticed right away is that it had Corolla wheels. It had these strange trim pieces, these, you know, side scoops on the doors. There was fake vents and ports everywhere on the vehicle. It was ridiculous. You couldn't even understand why there was so many vents on the vehicle, and they were all fake. They were non-functional. If there's one thing that I hate, it's a vehicle that is all smoke and mirrors. They hype up a car so much and tell you that this is going to be the greatest thing ever and give you some pretty impressive specs. In terms of, I mean, I don't even care about the horsepower rating. I really don't. But when you give me a 0 to 60 time and it's track capable type of vehicle with the stuff you're giving me, with the information you're giving me, I don't want to see fake vents all over the place. Granted, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's just say it's a prototype vehicle. It still looks ugly. It still looks like a piece of garbage. When you hype up a vehicle, you should have never called this a Supra. They could have called it anything else. Or as a matter of fact, what they could have done is simply just create a Supra on your own. Don't partner with other companies just because your FRS was a hit. The Toyota Supra is not going to be a hit when you collaborate with other companies for your platform, like BMW, which by the way, was missing from the Chicago Auto Show along with Mercedes-Benz. Why? So many auto manufacturers have missed the mark on either showing up or showing decent vehicles this year. We're going downhill with designs, and all the American manufacturers, Korean manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers, German manufacturers, they're all following the same recipe. For God's sake, someone be unique. The fake vents are everywhere on this Toyota Supra. On the front, below the headlights, in the front lower grille, everything it's all fake. It's all for show. Flashy, this and that. It sucks. It sucks to see this kind of stuff on a vehicle that's so overly hyped, because I mean, it's disappointing. You have so much hype revolved around one vehicle. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. It does look ugly in the pictures that were released. It looks ugly in the videos that I've seen. Let me see if my opinion changes when I see it in person. And let me tell you, it doesn't. It doesn't. The specs look great. Sure, the car would probably look great modified. You can change anything on a car in terms of appearance when you modify it. I just couldn't understand. And Toyota didn't even take good care of the car either. I mean, there were swirl marks everywhere on the paint. There really wasn't. The car was overall underwhelming. If you would ask me to look at this car and say, how much do you think this car is worth? When looking at it, I would say hands down, without looking at any specs or looking at any of the quality of the build. This looks cheaply put together, by the way. But I definitely think, just from first looks, this car is not worth a dime more than $35,000, 40 grand max if you add like tons of options on it, let's say. Maybe there's options that the manufacturer doesn't really offer, but the dealer does, like a sunroof or some other nonsense, right? I don't want to pay more than 40 grand for a car that looks like that or built like that. There is no way in hell this car is even on the same wave in the ocean as the previous generation Supra. Way to make a quote successor out of your legendary brand Toyota. This was a ridiculous feature to try to meet with your fans. It's mind-boggling that you thought that you can actually get this done. The only way this was ever to be a success is if you kept the FT1 concept and made it look almost exactly the same. That was the only way you would be successful in this reboot, but you failed to do that. You didn't listen to your fans, you just did whatever you wanted. And because of whatever it might be, time constraints, budget cuts, whatever the case is, you chose to work with BMW on it. Which only tells your fans between the FRS and the new Supra that you can't do anything on your own. It's disappointing, disheartening, and I sincerely hope that the Supra fails as a flagship vehicle. The previous Supra is the only Supra. The previous Supra is where the Supra died. Let it rest. Another cool vehicle that I saw that also had locked doors for whatever reason is the Subaru Impreza STI or WRX S209. That was interesting. I could not access the vehicle, of course, because Chicago Auto Show had all the flagship and most hyped up vehicles locked up for whatever reason. It's a media preview. Our job is to give the most accurate information. For whatever reason, Chicago Auto Show only had the locked doors, not Detroit or New York. Maybe Chicago's not trusted. I don't know. Ford had a great display for their Ford Raptor, their Ford Mustangs. It was very strange to see that there were not a whole lot of sedans. Ever since Ford announced that they were no longer making sedans, that they were going to focus on SUVs, trucks, and sports cars such as the Mustang and the Ford GT. So at least to say it was pretty interesting. The disappointing part is that you have a dual clutch automatic transmission, and that's pretty much already known everywhere now. A lot of people have a problem with it. I don't. I would prefer it to be manual, of course, but we have to accept this dual clutch automatic as it's going to prove to be a lot quicker than you'd expect. However, the part that I don't like is the dial shifter. This is something that should have never happened. There's a lot of consumer interest in older customers that want to see and want to feel like this is a Mustang. So why not put something a little bit more tangible into the center console so that you can feel like you're shifting something instead of turning a dial like you're turning up the volume on your stereo. This is ludicrous. Don't do this. This is bad practice. This in itself, you're not thinking about your customer. And that is the only disappointing part about this vehicle. Everything else, overall, hands down, very amazing vehicle. I am not going to discredit its looks or its performance. It really hit the mark. They really hit the mark with this one, except for that shifter. That shifter almost ruins everything for it. But when you put that stuff aside, this vehicle is going to be amazing, and I cannot wait until there are test drives and previews of that sort on maybe track driving or anything like that released soon. I cannot wait. So some other things that we took a look at was the Mazda section. Sometimes it's not even worth visiting the Mazda area, but we decided to have a little bit of fun, try to sit into a Miata or try to fit into a Miata. My friend Matt here, who you can also catch in our podcast channel, Smells Like Cheap Spirits, has nothing to do about cars, but maybe we might occasionally talk about it, but more about current events, political stuff, things of that nature, interviews with interesting people with interesting life stories. So if you're ever interested in visiting that podcast, you can do so in my featured channels. As I try to come in and try to sit down in the Mazda Miata at 6 foot 260 pounds, this is not made for me. The seat was put all the way back, and I still was crunched. My head was sloped down. I actually tucked my head a little bit into my head and my neck into my shoulders a little bit. Closed the door. I had literally no room. It was very, very intimate in this vehicle, to say the least. I pushed the clutch pedal down, and it took really no effort. My knees hit the dashboard a little bit as I'm trying to adjust. There was really no adjustment. I tried to put the top down, but that wasn't having it. It wasn't coming down. So maybe I did something wrong. I'm not particularly used to convertibles, so it's not really a thing that I'm a connoisseur of or know how to put down every top down. Getting out was extremely difficult. Hands down, a Miata is not made for me, and we quickly found that out. Yeah, so just a little bit of a fun thing that we decided to do was that. Another cool feature in the Chicago Auto Show, probably one of the coolest features in Chicago Auto Show, is the Jeep display for the off-roading capabilities. This is always cool to see, even in the media preview, even on public days. They give you a ride-along on this track. We didn't actually go on because we didn't really find it that interesting to just ride along. We actually enjoyed more watching it than actually feeling the need to go along in a ride-along. So we decided to just take a peek at it, and there was some interesting things. They were showing off some off-road capabilities, and it's like a difficult off-road course or something. I don't know. Maybe that shows off rock climbing and uphill, downhill, etc., etc. Dirt, gravel. They have all sorts of conditions for these Jeeps that they test it with. They just kind of show it off, you know, just kind of show it off. Some of the funnier aspects of it was some of the what you would call the weaker Jeeps, such as the standard Cherokee, was having a very difficult time going over some of these hills and things of that nature. So we found it kind of funny that they started doing this with the standard Cherokee. I think they probably all have done this with the Cherokee, but we just found it a little bit comical because it could barely get up and get over things, and whereas the Jeep Grand Cherokee had a little bit less of an issue, whereas the Wrangler had no issue at all, which is expected. So that's all I have for today. If you liked this content or liked my opinions on these vehicles, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment if you will. What are your opinions on these vehicles? What's your take on the Toyota Supra? What's your take on the GT500? What's your take on other vehicles that maybe you haven't seen in this video but would like to mention it? Stay tuned for other videos that I'm going to feature on my channel, such as local builds, other car shows, such as Cars and Coffee, Supercar Saturdays, and maybe some racing events put in between. The possibilities are endless. So until next time, see you guys around. Enjoy some bloopers in the meantime.
Look. Oh, snap. That's what's exactly going to happen. The all-new Ram 1500 best in towing, 12,750 pounds. Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Is it cheating? Look under the thing. Wow. I feel like it's cheating. That's how weird it's done. Wow. That's embarrassing. Oh, the Lego Movie 2. Apparently, it's not going to have any Legos in it. Right? So it goes. It's the Silverado build station. There's no parts. It's weird.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
You wrecked the Supra already.
We wrecked it.
If that's what it sounds like.
That's not what it sounds like.
How do you know?
Because
This is a Supra experience. That's what it sounds like.
yeah, it sounds like a Supra on a dog box, that's for sure.
No, that's what the Supra sounds like.
No, it's not. It's not what it sounds like.
No. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We're in the wild trying to catch the Telluride in its natural habitat. Ugh.
Boinky.
This actually smells really nice.
That's because it's real.
Yeah, I know. They make it seem so real. Just like the truck.
I could tell you ride a piece of shit.
What is that, like a
Oh, hold on.
Oh my God, here it comes. Such beauty and grace.
I cannot wait for the memes.
Woo!